welcome to today's On This Day in Tudor History. I'm Claire Ridgway, I'm founder of the Tudor Society and the Anne Boleyn Files website, and I'm here every day of 2019 bringing you Tudor events, whether they're executions, burnings, births, deaths, marriages, battles, whatever. I'm here with you every day. Now, for today's On This Day in Tudor History video, I'm taking you back to the reign of King Henry VIII, to the 4th of March 1522, which was actually Shrove Tuesday. And a special pageant took place on that day, and that was part of the Shrovetide celebrations of that year. Now, as well as marking Shrovetide, Shrovetide being the 3 days before Lent, which were the kind of last opportunity to have some fun, eat well, and that before the abstinence of Lent leading up to Easter. So as well as marking Shrovetide, the entertainment at court in March 1522 also celebrated an important alliance. It celebrated the negotiations between Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, and King Henry VIII for a joint attack on France. And this alliance was to be sealed by a marriage between Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, and Princess Mary, daughter of King Henry VIII. Obviously, this was something that never did happen, but the couple were betrothed due to this alliance. Now, there had been a lavish joust on the 2nd of March 1522, and I'll give you a link to my video on that because I read out a contemporary account of that joust. It was a really lavish occasion. And then on the 3rd of March 1522, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, who at the time was King Henry VIII's right-hand man, had hosted what was described as a great and costly banquet for King Henry VIII and Charles V's ambassadors as part of a celebration of these negotiations between them. And that had been followed by a play and a masque. We don't really have much details of those. It was obviously very lavish. But the thing that was to happen on the 4th of March 1522 was even more spectacular. Now, it was held at York Place, which was the home, the residence of Cardinal Thomas Wolsey in London. And it took place on the night of Shrove Tuesday. The Cardinal, the King, and Charles V's ambassadors supped together before this event. And then they enjoyed what is really described as a spectacular pageant. There's no other way of describing Hall's account of it. It was lavish, it was spectacular. It must have been a wonderful event to watch. Now I'm going to read to you chronicler Edward Hall's account of the Chateau Vert or Green Castle pageant, and you'll realise just how spectacular it was. After supper, they came into a great chamber hanged with arras, and there was a cloth of estate, and many branches, and on every branch 32 torchettes of wax. And in the nether end of the same chamber was a castle, in which was a principal tower, in which was a cresset burning, and 2 other lesser towers stood on every side, warded and embattled. And on every tower was a banner. One banner was of 3 rent, that means torn, hearts. The other was a lady's hand gripping a man's heart. The 3rd banner was a lady's hand turning a man's heart. This castle was kept with ladies of strange names. The 1st Beauty, the 2nd Honour, the 3rd Perseverance, the 4th Kindness, the 5th Constance, the 6th Bounty, the 7th Mercy, and the 8th Pity. These 8 ladies had Milan gowns of white satin. Every lady had her name embroidered with gold. On their heads cauls, and Milan bonnets of gold with jewels. Underneath the base fortress of the castle were other 8 ladies, whose names were Danger, disdain, jealousy, unkindness, scorn, malbouche, which means evil speaking, strangeness. And these ladies were attired like women of India. Then entered 8 lords in cloth of gold caps and all, and great mantle cloaks of blue satin. These lords were named Amorous, Nobleness, Youth, Attendance, Loyalty, Pleasure, Gentleness, and Liberty. The king, that's Henry VIII, was chief of this company. This company was led by one all in crimson satin with burning flames of gold called Ardent Desire, which so moved the ladies to give over the castle. But Scorn and Disdain said they would hold the place. Then Desire said the ladies should be won, and came and encouraged the knights. Then the lords ran to the castle, at which time without was shot a great peal of guns. And the ladies defended the castle with rosewater and comfits. And the lords threw in dates and oranges and other fruits made for pleasure. But at last the place was won. But Lady Scorn and her company stubbornly defended them with bows and balls, till they were driven out of the place and fled. Then the lords took the ladies of honour as prisoners by the hands, and brought them down and danced together very pleasantly, which much pleased the strangers. And when they had danced their fill, then all these unmasked themselves and were known. And then was there a costly banquet. And when all was done, the strangers took their leave of the king and the cardinal, and so departed into Flanders, giving to the king much commendation. Now, the torn hearts on the banners of this pageant continued the theme of unrequited love, broken hearts, from the 2nd of March joust, where Henry VIII had appeared with the motto, Elle mon cœur a navarre, or She has wounded my heart. Now, it's not known, as I mentioned in my video on this joust, it is not known whether Henry VIII's heart was really wounded, whether there was a case of unrequited love, whether he was wooing a woman at court, or whether it was simply a theme that had been picked for these Shrovetide celebrations and also the celebrations for the negotiations. Now, Henry VIII's future wife, Anne Boleyn, was present at this pageant and actually played a part in it. Now, Anne had been recalled from the French court where she'd been serving Queen Claude, wife of King Francis I, in late 1521. She'd been appointed to serve Queen Catherine of Aragon, Henry VIII's first wife. And another reason for her being recalled was because negotiations were ongoing for her to marry James Butler of Ireland to settle a kind of, well, not really a battle, but the title of the earldom of Ormond. Thomas Boleyn, Anne's father, wanted to inherit the earldom of his grandfather. But there was also another claimant, Pierce Butler, James Butler's father. So her marrying James Butler would kind of deal with this battle over the earldom. Now, we don't know exactly when Anne arrived back in England, whether it was late 1521 or early 1522. But this Chateau Vert Pageant is her first recorded appearance at court. She played the part of Perseverance, which seems, quite fitting when we think about how she had to persevere for quite a number of years to be able to marry King Henry VIII. And her sister Mary Boleyn played Kindness. Mary Tudor, who was the king's beloved sister, played Beauty. And Jane Parker, who would go on to marry George Boleyn, Anne's brother, and so become Anne's sister-in-law, played the part of Constancy. Now, the Showtime series, The Tudors, did a wonderful reenactment of this pageant. I mean, they really used Edward Hall's account to do the costumes, to make the castle, to do the whole pageant and entertainment, and they do it beautifully. I know the Tudors can be so inaccurate in many ways, but I really felt that they depicted this beautifully. But they did depict Henry VIII, of course, played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, as noticing Anne Boleyn, played by Natalie Dormer, at this pageant. You know, him noticing her and him falling in love or lust with her at this point. But we actually don't know when Henry VIII first noticed Anne and when he first fell for her. The earliest that historians tend to date Henry's interest in Anne is to around 1524. And of course, in 1522, with this Chateau Vert Pageant, Anne was yet to be involved with Henry Percy, son of the Earl of Northumberland, who was serving in the household of Cardinal Wolsey, and who she met because she was serving Catherine of Aragon. He was serving Wolsey, and they bumped into each other at court and seemed to have fallen in love. Oh, to have been a fly on the wall at this pageant. Oh, to have seen the castle, to see the dates and oranges and the balls and that being thrown around with this kind of mock battle as these ladies defended the castle. Now, it must have been amazing to see, and I just love Edward Hall's account. It is so, so vivid. So that's what happened on this day in history, the 4th of March 1522. We had the Chateau Vert Pageant held at York Place, the home of Cardinal Wolsey in London. I will see you tomorrow. But you can subscribe by just clicking that button that's around there and hit the bell to be notified as well of future videos. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up. And I also love reading your comments. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.